The United States is home to more than 330 million people, but that population is not spread evenly across the country. A relatively small group of states holds an outsized share of the nation's residents, creating pressure on housing, infrastructure, and urban space. These states did not become crowded by accident. Their population patterns were shaped over time by geography, transportation networks, economic specialization, and historical turning points that pulled people in and kept them there. In some cases, growth concentrates around a single dominant metro area. In others, multiple cities absorb populations simultaneously. What they share is a structure that continues to attract and retain residents, even as density increases. This list breaks down 10 states where population concentration is most pronounced, examining not just how many people live there, but why they do, and how those patterns persist over time. Number 10. Washington. Washington is home to around 7.8 million people, placing it in the upper third of U.S. states by population. What stands out is not sheer size, but how unevenly residents are distributed across the state. A large share of the population concentrates in the Seattle metropolitan area, while vast eastern regions remain sparsely populated. Urban living dominates the western corridor, where density rises quickly along Puget Sound, contrasting sharply with rural inland counties. Seattle functions as the state's economic anchor. Its influence extends well beyond city limits, shaping employment patterns, housing demand, and migration flows across the region. This dominance traces back to the city's historical role as a port and gateway to the Pacific. Rail connections, deepwater ports, and a major international airport strengthened Washington's position early on. In recent decades, technology and global trade replaced timber and shipping as primary growth engines. Population growth remains positive, though slower than its peak. Even with rising costs and congestion, the state's urban core continues to absorb residents drawn by connectivity and economic opportunity. Number 9. New Jersey. With nearly 9.3 million residents, New Jersey ranks among the most densely populated states in the country. Unlike states defined by one dominant city, population here spreads across multiple urban and suburban corridors. Rather than relying on a single metro, New Jersey functions as an extension of neighboring economic centers. Large portions of the population live within commuting distance of New York City and Philadelphia, creating continuous settlement across state lines. Historically, canals, railroads, and later highways positioned the state as a transportation bridge between major markets. Ports along the Atlantic coast and proximity to major rivers reinforced this role, anchoring early industrial growth. Manufacturing, logistics, pharmaceuticals, and finance replaced older industries, keeping employment diversified. Infrastructure density remains one of the highest in the U.S., with highways, rail lines, and ports carrying enormous daily volume. While population growth has slowed, New Jersey's density persists. The state's urban fabric remains intact, supported by its geographic position and long-established economic connections. Number 8. North Carolina. North Carolina's population has reached about 10.7 million, ranking it among the top 10 most populous states. Unlike states dominated by a single city, population growth here spreads across multiple metropolitan areas. Cities such as Charlotte, Raleigh, and the Research Triangle share influence, preventing one urban center from absorbing all growth. This distribution reduces reliance on a single economic engine while maintaining steady urban expansion. The state's population rise began with railroads and tobacco, later reinforced by manufacturing and military installations. Over time, highways and air connectivity strengthened links between cities, encouraging balanced growth. Economic drivers now include finance, technology, education, healthcare, and logistics. Each metro contributes differently, creating a layered economic structure that attracts migrants from other states. Population growth remains strong in the present day. Rather than overcrowding through density alone, North Carolina's challenge comes from sustained inflow across multiple cities at once. Number 7. Georgia. Georgia's population has grown to around 11 million, placing it among the most populous states in the Southeast. What drives the crowding is not statewide density, but concentration around a single, expanding hub. A significant share of residents live within the Atlanta metropolitan area, while much of southern Georgia remains rural. Urbanization is therefore uneven, with growth funneled into one dominant corridor. Atlanta's rise began as a railroad junction in the 19th century, positioning it as a regional connector. That early advantage carried forward into the interstate era, when highways and air travel reinforced its central role. Today, one of the world's busiest airports anchors the state's mobility. The economy diversified from logistics into finance, media, technology, and corporate headquarters. Each expansion phase pulled new residents into the metro, compounding demand for housing and transport. Population growth continues at a steady pace. Even as congestion increases, the gravitational pull of the urban core remains strong enough to sustain long-term concentration. Number 6. Illinois. Illinois is home to about 12.6 million people, ranking it near the top nationally despite recent population stagnation. The state's crowding profile is shaped by extreme imbalance rather than rapid growth. A large majority of residents live in the Chicago metropolitan area, while much of the rest of the state is sparsely populated. Urban density drops sharply outside the northeastern corner, creating a clear spatial divide. Chicago's dominance traces back to its position as a railroad and inland shipping hub, linking the Great Lakes to the Mississippi system. That infrastructure turned the city into an industrial and commercial center early in U.S. history. Manufacturing, finance, transportation, and services built a durable economic base. Although some industries declined, the infrastructure remained, anchoring population even as growth slowed. Illinois has seen net outmigration in recent years, yet its population remains high. The state's urban system retains enough momentum to keep it among the most crowded despite contraction. Number 5. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's population stands at roughly 13 million, placing it firmly in the upper tier of U.S. states. Unlike states defined by one city, population here is distributed across several historical centers. Residents are concentrated around Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, with additional density in smaller metro areas in between. This creates a multi-core pattern rather than a single dominant urban node. The state's population growth was shaped by canals, railroads, and early industrialization. Coal, steel, and manufacturing anchored communities across the state, embedding population along transportation corridors. Even as heavy industry declined, highways and freight networks preserved connectivity. Healthcare, education, logistics, and energy replaced older sectors, maintaining employment across multiple regions. Population growth has largely plateaued, but density persists. Pennsylvania's crowded profile comes from historical accumulation rather than modern inflow. Number 4. New York. New York has a population of about 19.6 million people, placing it among the top 4 most populous states in the country. What makes it feel overcrowded is not just numbers, but compression. A large share of residents live within a narrow corridor centered on New York City, where urban density reaches levels unmatched elsewhere in the U.S. Upstate regions remain comparatively thinly populated, creating an extreme contrast within the same state. The city's role formed early through maritime trade and immigration. As a primary entry point for millions of newcomers, population accumulated faster than land could absorb it. Ports, rail terminals, and later subways locked that density in place. Finance, media, global commerce, and professional services reinforced the city's gravitational pull. Even as some residents leave, others replace them, drawn by opportunities that remain concentrated in one metro. Over time, population growth slowed and even reversed slightly. Yet the state remains crowded because its core urban system never dispersed. Number 3. Florida. Florida's population has reached roughly 22 million, making it one of the fastest-growing large states in the country. Unlike older industrial states, its crowding is driven by constant inflow rather than historical buildup. Population spreads across multiple metropolitan areas: Miami, Orlando, Tampa, and Jacksonville, creating a network of dense coastal and interior cities. Urbanization is broad rather than centralized. The state's population surge followed key technological shifts. Air conditioning transformed climate constraints, while highways and airports connected Florida to the rest of the country. Tourism infrastructure doubled as migration infrastructure. Economic drivers include tourism, healthcare, logistics, construction, and services. Each wave of newcomers generates demand that pulls in the next, reinforcing growth across regions. Population continues to rise rapidly. Florida's sense of overcrowding comes from momentum, new residents arriving faster than housing and infrastructure can expand. Number 2, Texas. Texas is home to around 30 million people, second only to one state nationwide. What stands out is how sheer scale alone creates pressure, even without extreme density. Population is distributed across several massive metros: Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, and San Antonio, each large enough to function as a regional hub. No single city dominates the entire state. Texas grew through waves tied to land availability, oil, and later defense and technology. Interstate highways, freight rail, and energy pipelines stitch the state into a national logistics system. Its economy rests on multiple pillars: energy, manufacturing, technology, logistics, and services. When one sector slows, others continue pulling workers in. Population growth remains strong. Even with abundant land, the volume of people alone strains transportation, water, and housing systems. Number 1, California. California's population stands at approximately 39 million people, making it the most populous state in the United States by a wide margin. The scale alone places it in a category of its own, larger than many entire countries. Population here is not contained within a single corridor. Instead, it stretches across multiple megaregions, including Los Angeles, the Bay Area, San Diego, and the Central Valley. Urban, suburban, and semi-rural zones blend together, creating continuous pressure rather than isolated density. California's population surge began with successive historical accelerators: the Gold Rush, westward rail expansion, wartime manufacturing, and later the rise of entertainment and technology. Each phase added residents without fully replacing the previous layer. Infrastructure evolved to accommodate growth rather than limit it. Ports, freeways, airports, aqueducts, and energy networks expanded outward, allowing population to spread while still accumulating in massive numbers. The economy operates on multiple independent engines: technology, entertainment, agriculture, logistics, and global trade. Even during periods of outmigration, the absolute population remains high due to the depth and resilience of these systems. California feels overcrowded not because people live on top of one another everywhere, but because the system itself is carrying more people than any single state was ever designed to support. Population concentration is rarely the result of a single factor. It emerges from decades of infrastructure decisions, economic alignment, and historical momentum that continue to shape where people live today. Seen together, these states illustrate how urban systems grow, stabilize, and sometimes strain under their own success. Overcrowding is less about density alone, and more about how long people keep choosing the same places. If this analysis was useful, like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.